Hey folks, sunny south. Hope everybody doing real good. Crawfish etouffee on the menu this evening. We're going to be whooping up a fairly traditional style of Louisiana crawfish etouffee. We're going to be using that trinity, onion, celery, bell pepper. And we're going to be adding some diced tomato to this. We're going to make it a little bit of a Creole style, Cajun style etouffee. Does not have any tomato in it. Also does not have any garlic, but we're going to put some in there because I like it. Chef Paul Prudhomme be a little upset about that. Speaking of which, I got some of his seafood magic. We're going to be using that to season this up. All of his blends are just absolutely phenomenal. I love them. They're lightly salted, so you just get a whole lot of flavor and seasonings without blowing your head off from the salt. We're going to make up about a brown roux. We're not going to do a roux like a gumbo, but it's going to be definitely not a blonde roux. You're going to need equal parts of oil and flour for that. Going to need some reduced sodium chicken broth, some regular old salted Cajun seasoning, a little bit of shrimp boil, some Louisiana hot sauce, and Worcestershire sauce. I got the ends of the green onions right there. We're going to get them in. And at the end, we'll put the tops in there and garnish. We got a little parsley as well. 12 ounces crawfish tails. This was frozen, so I've thawed it out. This comes out of Louisiana. I got that from Walmart. It's a little hard to find. We're going to whoop this etouffee up tonight, serve it on a bed of white rice. Going to be extra good. Tomorrow, with the leftovers, I'm going to take this same etouffee, make some adjustments with it, make it more into a cream sauce. And then we're going to whoop up catfish etouffee. I'm going to blacken a piece of catfish, and we're going to use that for a cream sauce and put that over that fish. It's going to be extra good. Typically, etouffee is a fried catfish, but you can use grilled, baked, and in this case, blackened. Let's get to cooking. Now, first, we're going to make a roux, and I got about a cup vegetable oil. We're going to put that in there. We're going to let that vegetable oil heat up there just a few minutes so it starts frying this flour as soon as we drop it. A lot of people get intimidated making these roux, but I'm going to tell you, it ain't a whole lot to it. Now I got that mixed up there pretty good, and it looks a little thin. I'm going to put a little more flour in there. You just never know how flour is going to respond. It's always different. It's got different humidity levels and whatnot in it. And you know, folks say you got to spend a whole lot of time making these roux, and I'm going to tell you do not. I'm on a medium-high heat. I got this bad boy rolling. And what we're going to do is we're going to sit here and keep this moving. As long as it's moving, it will not burn. The only thing you got to do is dedicate the time to make sure you stand here and keep it moving. And once it starts browning, it's going to brown fairly quick. We're going to take this to about a peanut butter roux. We're not going to go to a deep, dark roux like we typically would with a gumbo. But we're definitely not going to be doing a blonde roux. I see a lot of folks, especially folks up north, they use blonde roux for this. Don't do that. You got to get that nutty flavor from browning this flour. And so this has been going about 3-4 minutes, and it's already starting to slightly brown. I can start to smell the flour cooking. And the reason being is I start out on a fairly high fire, about a medium high, to get this going and get it cooking. As long as you keep it stirring, it's not going to burn. You don't have to worry about that as long as you keep it moving. Now, you can't walk off and leave it because it'll scorch on you. This flour will settle out of the oil suspension, and it'll burn on you. Once you burn the roux, you got to toss it. And don't get this stuff splattered on either. This Cajun napalm burn the shit out of you. You'll be madder than hell at yourself. And as this starts to brown, I just reduce my heat. And once I get this where I want it, I'm going to drop extra trinity in there and stop the cooking process. That's going to suck a lot of moisture out of that trinity, and it's going to thicken up, and this will get even darker. So right now I'm at like what I would call a country gravy roux. It's not a blonde roux. It's in between a blonde roux and a brown roux. We're going to go a little bit more on this. I'm going to switch over to this wood spoon just to make sure I'm keeping this completely stirred, because once it gets to this point, I'm going to drop this heat. Now see how fast this has turned into this peanut butter color? It did not take but about 5 minutes. Now I'm going to drop this fire down some more. And just make sure you keep this moving. I'm going to give it another minute or two. Just darken it up a little bit more. You don't have to sit here and cook this over a low heat for 35, 45 minutes. Get it fired up hot. Get it browning. And then just drop your fire. Once it gets about right here, I like to run about a medium low to medium. And then once it gets, fairly dark, I go even lower on that heat. This is how you make a Cajun roux without spinning all day at the stove. A lot of people make these etouffees, with a dark roux like you would use in a gumbo. I like mine somewhere in between. But definitely don't do a blonde roux. Right, that's looking pretty good to me. We're going to get them onions in there. Celery. And we are frying this trinity right now. Bell pepper. Going in there. All them goodies. Ooh, that's smelling good. There ain't nothing quite like the Cajun trinity frying up in a roux. And you can see there how that roux gets darker looking. That water starts releasing out of them vegetables. That's normal. That's what it's supposed to do. And I've got this fire turned back all the way on low. I'm just trying to get this pot cooled off. We're going to let these veggies sit here and basically fry and sweat off about 5 minutes. And while these vegetables are cooking off here in this roux, we'll keep it stirred fairly often. Alright, these have been cooking here about 5 minutes. I'm going to go in with some of this Paul Prudhomme Magic, Seafood Magic. And I'm going to let it cook in here in this hot roux for a few minutes. I'm going to put about a tablespoon in there. That is a fairly lightly salted seasoning. It's more herb and spices than it is salt. That's why I really like it. We're going to get us some regular old Cajun seasoning in. Go in with, we'll do about 2 teaspoons of that. We're going to get our garlic in here. That's about 2 teaspoons of garlic. We're going to get these green onion bottoms in here. We're going to get our can of diced tomatoes in, and those are drained. Start turning this fire back up. Getting this pot heated up real good, and then we're going to drop this chicken broth in. Alrighty, let's go in with this chicken broth. I'm going to put about 3.5 cups in there right now. We'll let this come up, take a look at it. And this is going to have to cook down about 45 minutes before we even put the crawfish in there. Crawfish is already cooked. It just needs to be heated through. Let's get this mixed all in here real good. Get us a little Worcestershire in. About a tablespoon, a little more than that. Get us a little Louisiana hot sauce in here. About a tablespoon. We're going to put a little bit of crab boil in here, and this stuff is potent. Very potent. I'm going to put about 1/4 of a teaspoon in, maybe a 1/2 teaspoon. Oh man, that is smelling good. Get some bay leaf in there. Boy, I wish y'all could smell this. It smells absolutely delish. I get a little excited cooking this Cajun and Creole cuisine because the flavors are so over the top. Let this come up to a pretty good simmer and see what it's doing on thickening. May need to put some more broth in there, but I doubt it. It's looking pretty good right now. And it's kind of a personal preference how thick you want this gravy. And then we'll put a lid on it and let this cook down about 45 minutes. These vegetables get real nice and soft. And these tomatoes are about going to dissolve and disappear into this sauce. And toward the last of this cook, we'll put them crawfish tails in here and let them heat through. We'll get the tops of those green onions in just to add some nice color and brightness, and a little parsley. But before we put the lid on this, I am going to taste it for seasoning, see if it needs any adjustments. And I'm using this enamel coated pot because these tomatoes in here, you don't want to use no cast iron or anything that's going to strip from the acidity of them tomatoes, because they're going to cook in here for about 45 minutes, and that's enough to do it. Looking pretty good. I'm not going to add any more broth to this. That's about where I want mine for sure. Let's get a taste of this. See if it needs any adjustments. Boy, that is good. That is delish. I'm going to put a little more of this in here. I'm going to put a little more of this in here because it do need a little salt, seems like. Drop this heat back, give it another taste. It's still a little bland. Salt it up with a little more Worcestershire. I'm going to put some plain old salt in there. I don't want to add any more of that seasoning. We're going to get a little too spicy. Let's get a little pinch in there. This is going to be served with rice. You definitely want this well seasoned because, you know, rice is bland. Oh, that woke it up. Woo, that's good. My goodness. I'm going to get that crawfish in here later and it'll be slapping time. We're going to get a lid on here and we're going to let that cook about 45 minutes. See y'all back shortly. Looking pretty darn good. Go ahead and get that bay leaf out of there. Now I got a host to it. We're going to get us some green onion in here. Some of these tops. Get some parsley in. We got our crawfish. We're going to drop it in here. Get it mixed up real good with this sauce. We're going to turn the fire up. We're going to let this bubble here a few minutes until the crawfish is heated through. Well, we've been simmering here a few minutes. Crawfish is where it needs to be. Let's turn the fire off. We're going to get this plated up. It's going to be extra good. Clean this plate up so it looks like something or another. We're going to do a little emerald lagasse bam right around the edge of this bowl. And on top of that rice, just like it. Bam. Just a little bit of parsley on here. We're going to have a little cornbread. Do a little sopping. It's time to get in here and see what this is talking about. A little hot sauce. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's regular folks approved right there. I guarantee. That is delish. That seasoning is right. That trinity come through. Crawfish flavor. Oh my goodness. Boy, it's going to be some good eating right here. For sure. That's it, folks. Some of that Creole style crawfish etouffee served on a bed of white rice. Not too hard to do. Extra delicious. Till next time. Peace.